I'm Rachael Franco, and I'm the host of the 2021 ITS Canada Virtual Conference. I'm here with Kurtis McBride, CEO of Miovision. Thanks for joining me, Kurtis.
For sure. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, let's dive right in. I'll start by asking, what drew you to the traffic industry?
Oh man, so you kind of have to go back all the way to my university days. So probably 20 years now. I went to University of Waterloo, and I was in a co-op program. And my last co-op job was working for a transportation engineering company based in Toronto. And I was during the week I would help them out in the office, and then on the weekend, every once in a while, the students would get asked to come out and do manual traffic counts. So we would be out there in the baking hot July sun in downtown Toronto with a clipboard and basically counting how many cars were turning left and turning right. And 8 hours into this, well, truthfully, 15 minutes into it, your mind would start to wander. And certainly by the 8th hour of counting how many cars were turning left, the accuracy of the data could probably be called into question. And then I would go back to the office and I would see how that data was used, right? Because I was then involved in the actual traffic engineering, where we were making, either expensive engineering geometry decisions or signal timing changes or safety related decisions based on this data that I knew was, as accurate as I was able to make it while I was out at the side of the road. So it got me sort of thinking, how can we apply technology to the traffic industry? And one thing led to another through a master's, and then ultimately starting the company. And we basically set out to take technologies that in a lot of cases have been applied in other industries for years, and had been at the time. And as the company's evolved, we've always kind of kept that view. Technologies and business models. Let's bring some of those ideas into traffic and see if we can't make a difference.
Oh, wow. So you mentioned the accuracy and importance of data. So what do you think cities could do better when it comes to their data?
Yeah, so a few thoughts here. The first thing I'll say is, I say this a lot, and I think it's directionally true. There's always ways to enhance the kinds of data that the cities use to make decisions, but cities actually have a lot of data. A lot of intersections are instrumented with these magnetic loops. So little loops, magnetic loops that are in the road. When a car drives over them, the loop will trigger, and it tells the intersection to give you the left turn arrow or not, right? But a lot of that data exists, but it's trapped in an analog circuit in a metal box on the side of the road, right? So it can't actually go to the place where someone trained in the craft could look at the data and make a determination about what it's trying to say. And so a lot of what we focus on is about how do you unlock the data that's already there, and how do you get it away from the intersection and get it in front of people who can actually make decisions. And so that's kind of the basis of it. But a few kind of concepts that really sort of promote that. So one is this notion of open data or open standards. There's no point in a vendor trying to lock down in proprietary ways, try to lock down all the data. Because often to solve problems, you need to combine data from multiple different sources, right? So all the data that we generate, we make it available in open ways that cities or even third parties like our competitors potentially can access that through open APIs, like programmatically, in standardized ways that we publish so that the data is consumable. Because ultimately, we think that's the thing that allows cities to maximize impact with the investments they make. So that's one piece. And then the second piece is, whether it's traffic data or more broadly, we talk about the smart city. As more and more data is generated in our cities, it's really important that public policy be developed to ensure that the way that data is used is being used in the public interest, right? So how do we build sort of data governance principles up around this data so that we can make sure that we can sort of maximize its utility, but minimize any of the potential downsides that the data has. I read an article a while ago. Data is the new plutonium, right? So plutonium is very valuable if you use it for energy production. It's also very dangerous if it's used if it's handled in the wrong way. And I think data from our cities is like that. It's a very valuable resource if we make it open, make it easy to flow, and govern it right. But you only have to look at Facebook and Cambridge Analytica to know that seemingly innocent things like liking family photos can ultimately be turned into not so good outcomes if not governed properly. So I don't know. Those would be open standards and governance. I think would be the things that I would really advocate for.
Great. Okay, so big picture question. How do you think traffic management will evolve over the next 10 years?
Honestly, I think over a 10-year horizon, the whole world of traffic management is going to change. And in the context of our cities are going to change in big ways. So, I think if we take it up, 100,000 feet, I think the Internet of Cities is coming. So what do I mean by that? Wireless networks and low-cost sensors are going to drive ubiquity of data coming out of our physical cities. So whether that's from the vehicles we drive, from the intersections, from the streetlights, from the buildings, from the bike paths, the amount of information that's going to be streaming real time about the then current state of the city is going to blow away even our most wild imaginations about how much data we're going to have. Like, it'll be on the order of the emergence of the internet. So if we're in 1995 in the Internet of Cities right now, imagine where we were in 10 years later in terms of what the internet became. So I think that's the backdrop. And then in terms of traffic management in particular, there's this really interesting, arguably once in a generation opportunity to whatever you measure, you can improve. So we've never really been able to measure, we do, portable temporary traffic counts with college students at the side of the road as the basis for our understanding of the traffic network, where we get citizen complaints as a primary, believe it or not, as a primary input into what's working and what's not working in a traffic network is this analog system of calling in and saying, hey, this doesn't seem to be working very well. All of a sudden, we're going to have this infinitely more rich data set to be able to build insights on top of. And I think there's this once in a generation opportunity to optimize how we experience transportation in our cities by moving all this data into places where we can apply modeling and simulation, but also things like artificial intelligence to what the data is telling us to improve congestion, but also to improve things like safety, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So I sort of see in the same way that and hopefully the audience will go get the reference, but in the same way, like Salesforce.com over the last 10 years has come along and become almost like the operating system on which the enterprise runs. I think a similar kind of platform will emerge in the traffic management space that will become almost the operating system of the transportation network. And I think it's really exciting, and I think Miovision really hopes to be a player in whatever way we can be.
Wow, that does sound exciting. Very interesting. It's almost hard to fathom some of the things you were talking about in terms of the data. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on data and traffic management, Kurtis. And also thank you to Miovision for being a platinum sponsor of the 2021 ITS Canada Virtual Conference, June 21st and 22nd, and November 29th and 30th.
For sure.
I also understand you'll be speaking at the opening plenary on June 21st.
Yeah, we will be. We're pretty excited about that opportunity too, and we have actually decided to rather than sort of talk about traffic or talk about Miovision, I think we're going to use the opportunity to actually talk about remote work and what it's been like for all of us. Things like managing an intersection from your living room didn't really have much meaning 14 months ago, but here we find ourselves on the other side of the pandemic, and we just want to share some things that we've experienced with our staff, both sort of professionally and how it's taken a toll on people personally, and also just share some things we've learned about what it means to do remote work. We have about 100 people that we've onboarded into the company over the last year that have never been into our office. So how do you bring them in, make them feel part of the culture, make them feel part of the work? And so yeah, going to use the opportunity to share some of those experiences.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Really wonderful work you're doing. Thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you at the conference.
Thanks, Richard.
Bye.